The purpose of this video is for entertainment only. All source materials have been found in the public domain and are of fair use and fair dealings. Should questions arise, please do your own research. Thank you. Celt. Hi everyone. So much said about Harry and animals. I was basically in the previous video pointing out about how children seem to be responsive to him, and he seemed to have a good rapport with them, and also with elderly people. Animals sort of came into it as well, because animals do know if somebody is a dodgy person or not. So, well, they seem to. Some people were talking about Harry's treatment of animals, of horses. I had a look. What I found is this. I'll just read it to you. Prince Harry has come under fire from animal rights supporters who claim his mistreatment of a polo horse caused the animal to be injured. The 25-year-old royal was participating in a polo match last July. That was obviously some time ago that happened, when the horse he was riding started to bleed from cuts caused by his spurs. Animal rights organisations are up in arms about reports that Harry continued to ride the horse despite its condition, while others dispute the accusations. A spokesperson told the Mail Online Prince Harry was wearing regulation footwear, round-headed spurs. So what I gather is that these are not the spiked ones. These are round-headed spurs which do not injure the animal. Worn by many polo players, as soon as the cut was noticed, play was stopped and the horse was treated properly. The horse was absolutely fine and returned to the field immediately. And it goes on. Oh, I think this is another article. I don't know if it's the same one. We see horses' involvement in sport as just one of many facets of our unique and evolving partnership. Nowhere else is the partnership between horse and human as complete as when these two athletes compete as one. And then it goes on. Sport horses have been bred for hundreds, if not thousands of years to excel in the challenges of training and competition. We believe the role of horses in sport is legitimate and right, as well as mutually beneficial, so long as their welfare is put first. When horses are used in sport, a heavy burden of responsibility for their welfare rests on the shoulders of those who own, train, ride and care for them. Sport horses are generally exceptionally well cared for, thanks to the significant investment that flows into the industry and the vigilance of regulators. Standards of welfare in horse sport can be the highest in the world, and we believe our work with sports regulators over the years has helped, but there is much more to do. It goes on to talk about overbreeding, questionable training methods, use of inappropriate tack, poor course design, limited access to grazing, excessive or unnecessary whip use. I mean, it doesn't sound good anyway, even though this is supposedly in the animal's favour for its welfare. Prince Harry takes the welfare of his horses incredibly seriously and has been riding this horse for many years. He has nothing but the highest respect for the polo ponies and would never knowingly do anything to cause the animals distress. A vet who examined the horse immediately after the incident said that the wound did not appear to originate from carelessness on the part of the prince, saying instead that it was most likely the result of a collision with another rider. I heard that a rider had collided with him and it pushed against his foot, and the spur, which was a round-headed spur, pushed into the pony. It says here, my gut feeling is that something has pushed the spur into the pony. It was only on one side of the pony. If it had been caused by excessive use of the spurs, you would have expected to find it on both sides. Then it goes on to say that they had decided to launch an informal inquiry into the incident, the sports governing body. Still, the sports governing body, the Hurlingham Polo Association, has decided to launch an informal inquiry into the incident, saying that they are very hot on the welfare of ponies. And one senior representative told the UK Express that Prince Harry is unlikely to face any disciplinary action. The next article, I'm not going to read it. It was about his horse, his pony called Drizzle, who Prince William and Prince Harry both used for polo. That horse passed away from a heart attack. Harry rode it off the field, and it died shortly after. It was struggling, I think, and struggling to breathe, and it had subsequently had a heart attack, which is sad. The timing of it, I mean, it might not have been the way he was riding it that caused it. It was maybe it was going to happen anyway. I don't know, and that's probably not relevant to this thing to do with the spurs and the bleeding. It's a difficult subject because I think anybody that's competitive, and they have said that Harry is competitive and a lot more than William, will ride a horse hard and get as much out of them, whereas others might not and lose the game. Whilst the cruelty involved in horse racing is attracting more and more criticism, little attention has been paid to the plight of ponies used for polo. But the death of Drizzle is by no means an isolated incident. Polo is very gruelling for the ponies, who are forced to constantly stop and start and make sharp turns. Yeah, I've often noticed that. I've thought, gosh, they must be well trained, but I've not really thought about what it actually does to them. And it says here, ankle injuries are common. The whip is used extensively. Sudden deaths, either during a match or shortly after a match, are not uncommon. Yet again, this shows that whenever animals are exploited for sport, their welfare comes in a distant third behind winning and making money. This talks about the incident with the spur. It says that it was an abrasion that was fined 20 minutes later. The injury, according to the vet, was also not as bad as it looked and was only an abrasion that was fined 20 minutes later. Harry has a reputation for pushing his polo ponies to the limit. A friend of the royal family last night said, off the field they are pets, but on the field they are machines. The best riders tend to be careless, if I can put it that way, to get the most out of the horse. I always think Prince William is too cautious and his game suffers as a result, but Harry is more careless and as a result a better player. And here is an article. There is a regulating body of people who, it's the International Equestrian Federation and the British Horse Racing Authority. They're involved in making sure that the welfare of the animal is the priority. And I'm just looking through this. An independent vet examined the pony for the association on the 4th of September after stories appeared in the national press. We took veterinary advice that if the pony had been gouged or stabbed by the spurs, there would have been scar tissue or a bald patch, said Mr. Morley. There was no sign of any such injury. What had been said, that there was bleeding and that he had dug his spur in and that it must have been bad to cause it to bleed. Well, this is saying that it wasn't. It was a superficial. The vet told the HPA that as the injury had been to one side of the pony only, it was more probably caused by a collision rather than spurs. I think this was more a story about Prince Harry than his polo skills, said Mr. Morley. He said the HPA Welfare Committee had concluded that there was no wrongdoing involved in the incident at a meeting on the 4th of September. Prince Harry's been cleared of any wrongdoing or cruelty to his polo ponies. I think that Harry isn't particularly cruel. I think that it's probably the game itself that is cruel, and that in playing it to his best ability, maybe the animals are put under more stress. Like they said, Harry probably wins more games than William, and William probably goes easier on the horse. It does seem very contradictory that they're trying to concentrate on the welfare of the actual ponies, but in order to win, they have to absolutely drive them into the ground. And I think that if anybody's got any problems with this, I think that the article is right in saying that the wound was superficial. It wasn't caused by a spur. It was caused by an accident. It does seem that way, that it was caused from one side, another rider pushing in on him, and it was a scrape rather than a deep wound. As far as the rest of it goes, I think and his other pony dying, I think it's a case of, I think it's not Prince Harry that needs to be looked at as regards his treatment of animals. I think it is animals in sport. I think it's the whole thing, because the very fact that they said that it happens regularly with other ponies, other riders, they can't really single out Prince Harry. Maybe the whole thing needs to be looked into. So that's my thoughts on it. To the people that were commenting in my last video about Prince Harry's treatment of animals, I don't think that they can base it on this. I think it's the whole thing, the game, that is at fault here. I see him stroking dogs when he's out. I see them responding to him. I see him talking to children and interacting with them, and I see them responding to him, and the same with elderly people. And that was what I was referring to in this other video. So the polo match incident it's the game that needs to be looked into. But I just thought I'd put this information out there because it got me interested in it myself. I wanted to take a look and see what really happened there. Here's a few video clips of Harry actually falling off his horse. So there is one thing, I suppose, they can throw him off. You know, if an animal is getting mistreated, that I guess they would throw the rider off. Harry's had a few tumbles, and here's some video clips of it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.